Morning all, Nimby here. This morning we're going to be tying a Minnow Streamer. This is using pheasant tail. It's a very effective and simple little minnow pattern if you don't want to go with something similar to like a muddler minnow. And you want it to be a little more classic streamer style. I don't have an original date for this one. It was originally tied by Terry Tide Flies in the Spokane, Washington area, but I don't have a date for it. Judging by it, it's more of like a business name than an original, historical tire. I would say probably in the 70s range would be about right. Hey, wee man, good to see you, mate. So we're just gonna lay a thread base down, put our tail tying point just behind the barb there. And for our tail, we're gonna be using the red side of I want this nice kind of flowy pheasant tail, but we're going to be using some of these smaller ones from the bottom here because we just need just the tail bit. Just give me a second to fight with these and get them out. Just going to add up a couple here because they're changing in size as they're going up feather. Normally I wouldn't bother with using this bit and I just strip this out, but since we're just using it for the tail bit, I think we can work it in. We'll just reline up these fibers here. There's a little bit of breakage there, but again, I think we'll make it work. We'll get those tied in and see where we're sitting at. So overall, most of this fly is going to be pheasant tail. But it's not like an oversized pheasant tail nymph. It has a brown floss body. Some of the pictures and stuff I've seen for this one show like a magenta between like this brown I'm going to be using in like a wine color to a magenta. I think they're just trying to match their small bait fish minnows in their area. So we're going to go with that. I think I'm going to tie it in a little thicker. We'll see what that looks like when we get in there. So we want a fairly substantial sized tail here. Hey, welcome in from Argentina. Appreciate having you in. I like Argentina. It's a beautiful country. Yeah, for sure. If I had to pick just like one feather and I couldn't tie with anything else, it would be pheasant tails. Or just pheasant in general, if I could pick like one bird. I could tie so many things with a pheasant skin. It is not funny. One of the most universal materials for sure. I'm just doing 3 tighter wraps at the back to get this to lay out there. And that's about right. We want it to just imitate a small rear fin, so I like how that went nice and flat like that. This is a little bit on the, these are tied from 10s to 6s. I'm tying this one on a 6, so this is on the larger side. They're not like your big, massive minnow streamer. Like some of the muddler minnows can get quite large. These are more on the small. Okay, I'm gonna clip this off. We're gonna tie this in. Since I'm using floss, I do need to keep in mind that I'm gonna need a smoother body. But I'm gonna bring these up to about the 2/3 mark. Just want to get rid of the rake so we don't have any lumps there. So it does have a little bit of body prep in that it has two different types of well, I'm going to be using Uni French in gold, and I think it's in a medium or a small. Either one doesn't matter. You can use just regular gold mylar tinsel as well for the back section. But the rib on the fly is split into two sections. So you'll have your back rib and your front rib. The front rib is going to be a quite heavier gold wire. In this case, just using this spool. That's a brass wire. I consider that between a medium and a heavy. For this size fly, it's a good size wire. You can see it's maybe a quarter of the shank. And that's not only just to add weight, but it's also to balance the fly out so the weight's more in the front. And then for the back section, we're going to be using this gold Uni French tinsel, which is it a medium? Yeah, so medium gold Uni French tinsel for the back section. Hey, buddy, good to have you in, mate. Don't mind my yabber in there, just getting all my fly details in. Okay, so to start off with, I'm going to be tying in the Uni French first, and we don't need a whole lot, so we're only ribbing with this one the first 2/3 of the body. I'm going to be tying it in right here so we have a nice even all the way along the body. That'll help our floss from being too lumpy. And did I break that, really? Wow, okay. I don't think I've ever broken French tinsel before. Let me cut that off. Obviously there's some kind of defect in there. Well, that's a new experience. No worries, man. We'll be here waiting for you. Okay, I'm just going to tie that all the way back on my side of the hook. Again, doesn't matter what side you tie it on. Just want to try and keep it even all the way back to the just before the tail base. About 2 wraps before where you tied your tail on. Right there will be good. Then we're going to tie in our floss. In this case, I have this nice, I really like this floss, and thankfully I got a nice big skein of it. But it's like a beautiful iridescent, like root beer brown. It just works so well for so many flies to have that like buggy brown exoskeleton look. It's older. It came with a set of flosses from I want to say late 70s. So it could even be like a rayon, but I think it has a lot of characteristics like an acetone. But I haven't tested it. I'm not sure. I could definitely do though. I'm just not super interested in the make of it. Unless I start using it for chironomids or somewhere where I'm going to be like using acetone to melt it. In that case, I need to know what it is. Just going to catch the tip in there. Back wrap it a little bit. And we'll get this all the way down. Same thing. We're just going to bring it down my side of the hook. Fairly even wraps. Trying to even out any low spots there. I'll bring it right back to the point where the French tinsel's tied in. Go under that. And then I get 2 wraps. Come on now. Get 2 wraps on this side of the uni French. So we can butt it right up to where the tail tying point is. That'll start our uni French tinsel, just 1 wrap. I don't want to interrupt the tail. There we go. That'll start our uni French tinsel, 1 wrap. Ahead of where our body material is going to be wrapping in. It'll stop the tinsel from sliding off and interfering with the tail. Give the fly more durability. And just overall, it's a good tying practice. If you're in a hurry, though, obviously that takes a little longer. If this is just for your own box, just tie it right into the back end. Okay, so got those 2 in. Now we just need our wire. The wire, since it is a thicker wire and it's a little bit harder on the wrapping and it's smooth, I've crimped the bottom end of this. Probably can't see it on camera, but it's a little bit, oh, maybe a little bit there. So basically what I'll do is I'll use a pair of hemostats. I'll do it again here just for the camera purposes. And you just use a pair of hemostats. You can use some like Leatherman or any pliers you got around that have serrated teeth on them. Just give it a good little crush, 90 degrees, and that'll put just ever so slightly small serrations in there without tempering or changing the wire. That'll help it to hold in much better because the wire is very slippy. But it won't work hard in the metal. We're going to bring this down to the 3rd mark. Well, 3rd from this side, 2/3 that side. Like so. Now you can bring the floss body all the way up and then tie this in after. The downside of doing it that way, the upside is it's a lot more convenient because you don't have these wires hanging out. The downside is if you go that way, the floss is quite slippy and the wire is quite slippy, and being that it's a thicker gauge wire, you're going to need to pull on it to give yourself the oomph you need to get it around nice and tight. And doing so, you will typically pull the wire out. You can also use a little dab of super glue if need be. Okay, so I'm just going to be hand wrapping this. Now, I definitely could use the rotary. However, again, with these wires hanging out, it makes the rotary function a bit of a pain in the butt. So I'm just going to hand wrap it. Did that for years and years and years, so it's not going to hurt me any. In a lot of cases, my brain prefers the manual method. So we're going to bring this all the way down to the end, just even slightly overwrapping wraps. When we get down to the 1/3 wire section, we're actually going to counter wrap and go backwards. That'll give us a little thicker body there and a little more coverage. I'm losing a couple strands here. Probably cut a little bit much off this floss, to be honest. That's good. If you get it to lay fairly flat like it's doing, I'm not too worried about those couple wispy bits that are breaking off because the counter-wrapped tinsel will take care of that for me. It is a little bit annoying. You definitely don't want your floss to do that, but it is what it is. Not sure if I caught it on something or it just was already fraying like that. But that's floss for you. That'll give us a really nice smooth body. If you did want a different body shape besides building up the body shape with the floss, you definitely could build up a bit more of a thread body if you're looking for more of a taper. In this case, I'm not going to do that. I'm just building up this last third of the body here to give it that little bit of a tapered look, and also give it a little more material to bite into for that thicker wire. Okay, that'll do. I don't normally have a problem with this floss coming apart like this, so I think I might cut myself a new piece for the next fly. Normally it holds together pretty good. Again, not worried about it because we're ribbing this fly, but it's always nice when the floss plays ball and holds together for you. Okay, we want to leave a good bit of room up front here as well. We're going to be tying in the pheasant wing. I'm going to do the risky thing here. Just singe those down a little bit. Okay, so again, we want the thicker wire. I got more than enough wire here. Probably could go with a quarter of what I got there. Okay, we're going to get it up to this point here. I'm going to actually catch it off with my wire that's going to complete this. And just keep tension on that. And this thicker wire, if you get it down, it will kind of work hard and temper and not want to back off on you, which is handy. There we go. Still going to catch it off with the thread, however. Keeping tension on it. And if you're just tying this for fast and dirty for your box, you can omit the front wire, just put a little lead underneath that section to add the forward extra weight, and just continue all the way to the end with the uni French or tinsel or whatever you got handy that's going to work for you that way. Yeah, that worked out good. I'm happy with that. Okay. Always tie in the heavier wire twice. Okay. So we were wrapping the wire this direction. So what we want to do is we want to take the wire and pull it 90 degrees in the opposite direction, tight, and then 90 degrees back the other way, and then 90 back, and that work hard in the connection point there. So now you can just helicopter it, and it should come right off. You don't have to worry about dulling your scissors or leaving a lump. It's completely smooth. There's no little nip there. So there we go. That way we got a nice gold rib all the way along, but we have a good amount of substantial weight difference on the front, enough so that the fly will, what we want it to do is when we're fishing it, we want it to do like a minnow dive pattern as it's being retrieved. So, excuse me, the difference in the weight from the front to the back, that section of wire will help that. Again, you can throw some, especially if you're fishing these deeper, you can throw a little bit of lead wire underneath that section. It'll help to raise it up like that as well. So now the last part, which is fairly simple, is going to be to get some pheasant tail overwing going on here. We want that to be the gap height, so I'm just going to grab that. I do have a few broken fibers in here, so we're just going to go with about 2 or 3 fibers more than the gap height. Tear that off. Now, for a lot of the traditional pictures I've seen from this fly, the wing for a lot of them seems to be tied instead of the nice red. Generally, I like to use this side, or if you have the center section, there's only 2 feathers on a whole pheasant tail that have that, but they'll have the red on either side. Most of your pheasant tail feathers are going to have like a regular pheasant feather on one side of the tail, and a lot of the pictures I've seen, that wing is tied with that, probably because of the coloration. But for this one here, I'm just going to go with that side, so we can get a little working length up there. At the end of the day, I think it's personal preference. I'm going to be going for a little bit of an angled look like that. I want it to end just past where the tail is there. This should crush down rather nice. It might oval on me a bit because the fibers are a little more robust. But we're going to give it a try with a soft wrap here. Soft wraps holding it back. Yeah, there we go. That actually worked out pretty well. It's too bad for that slight damage on the bottom of that. Do a couple more soft wraps moving back here. That'll help to kind of pin it down a little bit. That is what we're looking for. Cool. Yeah, it's a really nice, like, root beer brown. You could double this up too and make a, you could roll it. There's a number of different wing styles you could go with. I was expecting it to roll with that damage section, there, but actually held together fairly well. A little bit of a curve to it. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that. That'll do. Oop, missed a piece. Yeah, we'll just bury that all in with where'd they go? There we go. Just grabbing a Sharpie. I got some fresh Sharpies for Christmas. Woohoo! Ugh. Let's unbox one of these bad boys. Love me a nice clean Sharpie. See if I can nip just a little more off that. And we're just coloring the tip of that just so it doesn't show through any more than it needs to. We only got like 3 or 4 wraps holding that on, so I do have to be a little bit careful with the wing. But if you did a double-sided wing, you'd avoid that cupping. I'll show you in a second here once I get this wrapped up. Just gonna brace the hook as I'm making the head here. All the pictures I've seen of this pattern have a much smaller head than I would normally tie on a minnow pattern. I like my minnow patterns typically to have a fairly good size bulbous little head on it, so we are just gonna keep with that tradition, however, and make a smaller bulbous head. There we go. Get that in a lighter spot on my shirt. There you go. Throw in 2 1/2 inches here. And then we'll get into whip finish. And for the next fly, I think I'll use the other side of that pheasant tail just so we can see the difference in the two. Yeah, overall I'm quite happy with how that one turned out. A fairly simple little minnow pattern. Bait fish, I suppose. But yeah, if you want something similar to a muddler minnow without the worry of doing the head, or you don't have turkey, don't have oakum turkey to do the fins and that properly. Oh, that's a shame. I split that. Let's see if I can get that back together here. There we go. You can see it's slightly cupped to this side. So if we had two of the wings, which I probably should have done in hindsight, but it doesn't matter terribly much. The two wings would clamp together like a clamshell and give you a much more straighter wing. But that is not what this pattern calls for. So this is just the first one of a traditional tie. Now what I could have done, that's more just the shape of the feather. You can see it's got a cup to it, somewhat substantial. So you could steam that and straighten it out if it bothers you. But honestly, once you cast it a bit and fish it, it's gonna straighten out once it gets wet. So I'm not worried about it. And it still looks real pretty. If I can get it. Okay, so we're gonna get some head cement on there. Welcome back, wee man. Just finishing this one up. Gonna do another one, and I'm just gonna throw a couple slight variations on it now that we got the standard one tied up. Make it a little bit more Nimby style, I suppose. But yeah, if you just want to tie some simple little bait fish patterns and you don't have turkey, you don't want to spin deer hair for the front of a muddler, you don't have cones for your cone head, this is a really simple, because pheasant tail is easy to come by. Hey Tyler, good to see you in. AK Fish Pro. Good morning, guys. I think I'm just gonna throw just a whiff of just gonna throw a whiff of head cement on here, or Sally Hansen's, just to shine that up a little bit. Add a little durability. Yeah, like before Christmas there, I got knocked down with a flu, and wow, did that ever take me down a peg. It took a good week for me to get over that. Didn't even tie for a few days. That's not like me. Pretty much just laid in bed and felt sorry for myself. Good to hear you're getting better though, Tyler. Hey K-Fish, let's mod you up here. I'm surprised I didn't have you as a mod. There we go. Welcome to the mod crew, my friend. Good team. Yeah, thanks for stopping back in, Tyler. How'd that your stop at the fly shop go? Did that turn out okay for you? Okay, I'm just gonna I feel like they do. I don't know if there's any actual medical logic there, but I think like most spicy foods for me anyway, it feels like it opens everything up, you know, and it's like almost like a Vicks effect, right? And the more open you are, the more the mucusy stuff can flow and you can cough and spit it out. But I feel it would be good. I also think that there is a lot of antiseptic, blah blah blah, the other word, not antiseptic, but antibacterial properties to spicy hot food. Again, I am not a physician, nor do I know that from any sort of reliable source, but it just makes sense to me that body invaders would not feel as welcome. Oh, you got thread. Good for you, mate. Okay, so just gonna do my spin and spiel while we're waiting for this to dry. Yeah, thank you. I really like the way that looks. Like I said, it's a really good alternative if you don't want to go to a full-on muddler and you're learning to tie. Yeah, it's a fairly easy pattern. You can omit the heavier wire in the front and just wrap your uni French or your wire all the way across. Um, you could do it in silver too. I just think the gold looks so much better. The original pattern does call for gold. Yeah, we'll just do our rotation and spiel here. So that's a Minnow Streamer. I believe it was tied around the 1970s from Terry Tide Flies in the Spokane, Washington area. The pattern was believed to originate in the Columbia River region before Terry picked it up and changed it slightly. It's a very simple pattern. If you wanted to do a small bait fish or minnow pattern where, excuse me, if you wanted to do a small bait fish or minnow pattern and you didn't want to go on full-on muddler, either you don't have the turkey tails or you don't want to be doing the deer hair spinning for the head or cones. There's a really simple, easy um, minnow pattern that works extremely well. It's just mostly pheasant tail. Got pheasant tail for the tail, pheasant tail for the wing, some brown floss for the body, some gold uni French tinsel for the first 2/3 of the wrap, and some heavier gold wire for the last 1/3 to add some weight by the head. Excellent little bait fish pattern. There we go. Yeah, the curve isn't intentional, but that's just the way the feather's bending. So uh, myself, like the original pattern just calls for a single. So there's two ways you can get rid of that curve, or there's a number of ways, but two that I would use anyway. When you pull off your pheasant tail. Yeah, sorry, Tyler, I was kind of doing my rotation spiel there, so I didn't jump on your stuff, but I'm interested to hear about your trip. Okay, so it's snapping on you and it's not unspooling each time you try to tie a fly. Yeah, what thread did you get there, Tyler? That would help me knowing the brand and size and all that. Did you go with 8/0 or 6/0 or GSP? What'd you get? This shirt? I don't know. My wife just got it for me for Christmas. I'm happy with it. I was gonna wear it during Christmas, but all the flies that were tying was black, so they would have just disappeared into the shirt. But yeah, I plan on wearing it more often. And I don't know where she got it, to be honest. It does have like a little logo up top that says Black Fly Creations, but I don't know if that's the if it's a tire or if it's a company or if it's just someone that makes t-shirts online. I really don't know. But I enjoy it. It's a nice the fabric too is nice on the shirt too, so I would definitely buy more. And thankfully, as far as I can tell just by looking at the picture, it doesn't look like an AI generated stimulator. That's fine. I'm giving Tyler a minute here to catch up because I know he's not feeling well, so it's gonna take him a little bit to reply. Mm. yeah, before we move to the next fly here, we'll get a little chat in with Tyler. Thank you, K-Fish. Yeah, sorry, while we're waiting for Tyler to reply here, I'll just go over a couple things you can do. Hopefully you guys can see there's a clear bend to it there. So, what I would do if I wasn't worried about making too much bulk on the wing, and especially with a pheasant tail, you're not really worried about that. That more happens with deer hair and calf tail and that kind of thing. But it has a curve up like this, like it's cupping up. So I would take two slips, one left, one right, preferably from a left and right feather, and then cup the two of them together. So you end up with a nice hollow in the center, and that adds a nice body and makes a really nice wing. The original pattern for this just calls for a single strand wing, so I mean, it'll catch fish just the same as anything else, but for the fly tire, it obviously looks like there's a little bit of a weird mistake there. So I would either do two sides from left and right feather. So for that, you would want a. Do I have one here? One second, guys. Okay. So for that, you'd want one of these long boys. And that's a full pheasant tail clump. So this has your full pheasant tail from a pheasant in it. So that way you could take your material from one side and the material from the other side. The two of them would cup together and would get rid of that. We'll get rid of that issue for you. Now you don't necessarily need a left and right feather if you have a center feather. This is a center feather, but it's almost used up. If you have a center feather, it is a mirror image of itself, so it is cupped on both sides. So you can use some from the left side of the feather and some from the right side of the feather. And it's evenly cupped. This one here I'm just using for nymph tails and nymph legs and that sort of thing. But yeah, if you have like the majority of the pheasant tail actually looks like this, where you have one, yeah, full center tail. But yeah, most of your pheasant tails that you buy in the store or that you come across are going to look like this guy, where you got your the colorful fronds on one side, which is what you really want for tails and legs and nymph stuff and body wraps, and gives you that beautiful pheasant tail coloration, iridescent, all that's on that side. This side here is more like your pheasant tail flight feathers, and that's still very useful for many things, and still a wonderful feather, but the two of them are, as you can see, completely different. So you can't take some of your feather from the left and some of your feather from the right, match them up, and it won't look the same. Right? One side's it'll look just like this feather, folded in half. You can see how different the back is. It's like a nice light gray. So the reason that most of the uni thread. Okay, did you get an 8/0, Tyler, or a 6/0? Basically, is the label green or is the label orange? That doesn't always work, but generally the uni thread green is 8/0 and the orange is 6, but not always. Yeah, there you go. It should say on it here. I got one kicking right here, so this is 8. See, 8W. It may have a denier like here. It says 72. 72 is your standard kind of basic tying thread. So anyway, when you go to buy pheasant tails, these are the ones you're generally going to get 90% of the time. No worries. We all do, don't we? Can never have enough. So anyway, sorry, get this thought out of my head before it disappears. So when you buy most of your pheasant tails, they will look like this. The reason is that 90% of the tail looks like this. 90% of the tail has one side and then the other side. There's only 2 feathers in that whole tail. So in this whole clump, which probably has I want to say at least 30 feathers or so. You can see it probably clearer from the back and see how many feathers there are going all the way up. There's a lot of feathers. These are all useful for making pheasant tails, for making wings, for making thorax caps, all sorts of stuff. But in that whole pack, there's only 2 center feathers that are even on either side. So those go for a premium. And typically when you're buying these singular or in pairs, you're going to get these because they're going to separate the nicest feathers out, and those are going to be sold for a premium, almost the same price as the whole tail clump. So that's why I recommend, if you are going to tie, this is a good investment to go and throw your money in with a pheasant rump clump, because you're getting both the center feathers for basically the same price. You're getting all the other feathers almost kind of for free, right? Because a lot of times when you're in the store and you're buying just those 2 center feathers, or 4 or 6 or however many is in the pack of center pheasant tail feathers, it's basically, generally speaking, the same price as getting a whole tail clump. So just buy the tail clump, cry once, and you got enough pheasant tail feathers there to tie hundreds, if not thousands of flies. But yeah, generally speaking, if you go in, you're going to find one of these, because that is every other feather on that clump. It looks like this. So sorry, that was a little side spiel there, but I was just waiting for Tyler to get up to speed here. I do appreciate you coming in and sharing your start of your tying journey with us there, Tyler. So yeah, like I was saying, my advice is going to be different than most other fly shops out there are going to tell you not to buy or to start with Unithread. Now, the fact that you're breaking thread is good. It's not a downside. It's not a negative. Don't take it that way. Don't let it discourage you. If you weren't using Unithread, if you're using like this guy, a GSP spun thread, this stuff, well, not this particular one, but the majority of GSP threads are so strong that I can probably, I'm not going to do it here because I'm not going to hurt myself, but if you're doing like 140 denier, which is a lot thicker, like double the thickness of the 72, obviously, I'm just going to wrap this around my finger. And you can see I can pull hard enough on this before it breaks, but it's almost to the point of like cutting into my finger. It's ridiculous, right? You can see how much tension. Sorry, I'm dropping it everywhere. Let's try that again. Hopefully you guys saw it before I drop my thread. Okay, let's do that again. So this is a good example of thread tension. So you can see like how ridiculously how much tension I can put on that before it snaps. And this is a thin, as far as GSP goes, this is 70, 65, somewhere in there. It's not a thick GSP at all, and it's not even a strong GSP. Oh, cool, K-Fish. I'll have to drop in and check that out. I was so tired after work last night, I passed right out. I didn't even get to check out anyone's channel. I normally do my lurking Oh, cool. Yeah, holographic's nice. Do I have any holographic kicking on my desk here? So this is a non-holographic tinsel, but this is kind of your standard standard mylar tinsel. The nice thing about holographic tinsel over flat tinsel is it throws a lot more light. So if you say you go with like a medium or a small tinsel, the optical difference between the two is going to be such that you can sorry, brain stopped working as I was unthreading this. The optical difference between flat tinsel and holographic tinsel, well, basically like we just used on this fly here, to be honest. You can use the holographic tinsel for ribbing a fly. You can use it for making a thorax cap. There's lots and lots and lots of different things you can use it for. But just like the ribbing I have here for this gold wire, you can use the. Do I have any at hand here? 1 second. Yeah, this is substantially thick stuff. This is the big boy. But yeah, you could easily wrap the body with that. And to go down to a more manageable size tinsel, these are just some little guys I have laying around. So again, I'm just gonna wrap my finger. But yeah, you would just wrap your fly like so. And you can see that this flat tinsel, like wrapped around the fly, will have the same effect as that wire. So if you don't have any wire or you don't have uni-French is just tinsel like this that's wrapped around a thread to make it into a cord. And it's not anything crazy special, but I like traditional flies and a lot of them use uni-French, which is this. But all that is a mylar tinsel like that last silver one that's wrapped around a thin cord to give you that. What if you had too much thread colors? I don't know if you really can. The only three, sorry Tyler, I just cut off a piece of thread here to show you and I dropped it. There it is. I think. Is that it? Yeah, there we go. Alright. Sorry, let my brain catch up to my mouth here. So, the only three threads that you really need for 3 colored threads would be black, white, and red. Brown's a really common one that I use too, but you can color a thread. You can color a thread brown really easily with a brown Sharpie marker. So if you're tying a fly, you can use white thread and you can color it with a marker to make it whatever color you want. So a lot of people will just go with black, white, and then just color it with a marker. And then you can make it black, you can make it brown, you can make it whatever you want. There's no end of thread colors. I mean, that's a rabbit hole you can go down for the rest of your life. Okay, so this is uni. This is what you're tying with. So hopefully you saw the demonstration on my finger with the last, which is a GSP thread. Okay, this is just straight up regular uni thread. Yeah, things like the reason I'd say to buy red is because you can't. It's hard to color the white thread into a nice red. It ends up being washed out and looking more like pink. So that's why I say to buy red, white, and black, and then you can tie almost anything with that. The red is used for an accent color. You want it to be nice and bright red. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this uni thread the same amount around my finger like we did for the last one, and I'm going to put tension on it, and it's going to snap way before the other one does for tension. You can see it biting into my finger there. I can feel it stretch like a lot before it snaps too, where the other one doesn't. It has a lot of stretch to it. So as you're tightening, yeah, that's exactly it. You want to have like a little, they call it a hot spot is another term for it. But you can see here I've got it wrapped around my finger, and as I'm pulling down, like it's getting a lot of stretch. I can feel it taking up the tension into the thread. So as you're tying, if your thread's breaking, what's happening is you're wrapping, I'm running out of thread here, breaking it too many times. But as you're wrapping it around your hook and you're putting tension on, this is not twisted at all. This has no twist in it. So as you're wrapping it around your fly and you're pulling down, if it's snapping on you, one or two things is happening. You're one, just simply pulling on it too hard. Okay, you're getting to that point where it's breaking, and the fact that you're getting to that point where it's breaking is good. Don't feel bad about that. You want to get to that point where it's breaking. Then you want to step it back a notch. You want to back it up from that point where it's breaking, where you're frustrated and you're not enjoying yourself. You want to take it a step back. You want to be just on that, like the better tire you can be is one that you can feel that control of the thread. You can feel that it's gonna almost snap. You can feel that stretch before it breaks. So you can even do that. Just get some thread off your spool like I just did, wrap it around your finger. You know, be careful, don't hurt yourself. But wrap around your, yeah, and that's the other thing too, is that you have a brand new bobbin, so if there are any burrs in it or there's any manufacturer defects or anything like that, it's gonna catch. So you can, there's not a lot you can really do for that if it has a burr in it. There's some polishing techniques you can try and polish it up, but a brand new bobbin really shouldn't have a burr in it. This vise here, this is a Dynaking Barracuda. Very expensive. I wouldn't say it's overpriced, but I would definitely not pay full price for it, even at the amount of tying I do. But it retails for like over $1,000. But it's a freaking tank. It weighs like you could knock someone out with this thing. I've hit my head against it when I'm not paying attention. I'm bending down and it's like, whoa, it's solid. Yeah, turkey feathers are awesome. Maybe not tomorrow, but within the next few days here, we're going to be doing muddler minnows. I need to prep for that because it's a little bit more. We'll be using turkey tails for that. I got a picture of a muddler here, so that one uses turkey. That's a type of streamer. But yeah, turkey tails or turkey feathers in general are almost as useful as pheasant tails. You can use them in all sorts of different stuff. But yeah, sorry, let's get back to your thing there, Tyler. So, what I recommend doing is just taking your thread in your bobbin, right? And you're going to be able to feel this a little better. And as you wrap it, just wrap around your finger like I'm doing here. And you'll feel it not only coming out of the spool, but you'll feel the tension change on your finger because you can't feel that on the fly, right? And just wrap it. And if you feel that it's uneven, or you feel that it's catching, or you feel that it's grabbing or anything, you should be able to also just balance that on your finger like that with the bobbin weight, and it shouldn't unspool. And then again, if it does unspool, you can feel that on your finger like right away. Okay, and you can just roll that back up so you're not wasting thread, and you can do that a few times. And if you can feel it catching somewhere, there's something wrong with your bobbin. Yeah, you're going to. Yeah, it won't. Don't expect it to. Right? You're gonna muck it up. That's the whole point. So again, just wrapping around your finger, and as you're doing that, just pay attention to how it's coming out of that bobbin, and just feel if it's smooth. You should feel the same on your finger that you're wrapping, and also just you can feel the vibration a little bit through the bobbin on your other hand. So if it's catching, and all of a sudden like you're getting way more tension in one spot and then it's loosening, and then you're getting a bunch of tension and it's loosening, you may need to just return your bobbin or get a new one. And that's just part of it. You're gonna run into, your bobbins are gonna fail at some point. They are a disposable item. How disposable they are is completely random. I've had, like I said, I had this one. Oh, where'd it go? This bobbin I tied thousands of flies for maybe about 7 years before it finally gave up on me, and that was my fault. I put GSP thread through it and I wrecked it within like 3 flies, or 3 to 7 flies. So now it just holds my lead. But I've had some bobbins like this one that have the inserts on them, and the inserts, just the manufacturing had a burr in it, and they only lasted like a couple dozen flies before they gave up on me. So it's really random. You could have a bobbin last you years, and you could have a bobbin die on you. Hey Maddie, good to see you, mate. Yeah, you can do like chartreuse jig heads are really common. I know if you've I don't know if you've gone over to his channel, but check out Ruben's channel, Ruben Florence Jigs, and I think some of his best-selling jigs are chartreuse jig heads, and he always has his live streams going. He ties almost, I'm pretty sure almost every day. There's also Turner does some really good hand-tied jigs, and he does a lot of chartreuse. It's a really good standard color. Hey Yoshi, good to have you, mate. Sorry, we're just jabbering with Tyler here. He's learning some fly tying, and he just got his first thread, and he was having some issues with it. There's not much you can do, Tyler, to fix a damaged bobbin. You really just need to replace it. Cool. I'm glad you did. But yeah, it might sound boring, mate, but just get yourself, if you got some larger hooks, especially ones like these. Here, let's just do this for you, okay? Let me get this out of my vise here. But remember, this is a skill that you're gonna have to learn and foster, right? It's not something that no one just picks up a bobbin and starts tying all their flies perfectly. It's just not gonna happen. One second, this hook's too thick. I'm gonna have to adjust my vise for it. That'll do. Oh, she wonky. One second. There, it's probably a little loose, but you know, you get the idea. Okay, so get yourself a nice big, fairly sturdy, larger size hook like this one, okay? You take your... Yeah, welcome, mate. I'm glad you're stopping and asking for help, but it takes a lot. That's the first step. So what you want to do, this is Uni French in 6/0. If you did end up getting 8/0, you might want to move to 6/0 because there'll be a little bit more. Good. Yeah, no, it's always great when they come back and nail it a second time. It gives you a little vindication, right? But you might want to move to a 6/0. It's just a, it's one size up. It's a little bit stronger, be a little more forgiving for you. 8/0 is where you're going to be shooting for once you get better at tying, because it doesn't build up as much bulk. But what you want to do while I'm wrapping this, what I want you to watch is the hook shank here, okay? Now, since this is a longer shank, I'm gonna get movement up and down here, right? As I'm pulling on it, and it's just like what we're demonstrating with your finger and feeling that tension. So as you're moving it, you want to hold your bobbin in your hand so that you can put pressure on these here or put pressure on the spool. There's a lot of different techniques. Everyone just find something that feels comfortable in your hand. But you want to be able to keep some tension on it. And you don't, not a lot. I'm just like very minute. So you can control the tension coming out on your thread, okay? Just a little bit. Just a whiff. Just a hair. And as that's wrapping around, you basically just want to keep it. Yeah, that's true. That's their spawning time too. That might be why they're a little bit weird about your hook. So as you're wrapping this around, what you want to do is you want to practice keeping consistent, even tension. You can see that the hook is moving up and down in a fairly even circle, okay? Now if I'm not doing, what most people will do is do even pressure all the way till about here, and then they'll drop it, and it won't go down. And they'll bring it up, and they'll drop it. And they'll bring it up, and they'll drop it. And that's just a mechanic of the way our arm works, and it's a mechanic of some mental stuff with your brain. But what you want to do is just simply put thread on a hook, just like I'm doing right here. I know it sounds boring and it's not cool or anything, but this is what you're doing most of the time when you're fly tying. And you want to just watch that hook, and you want to see it going up and down in a nice little circle, and you want to have your thread going back Excuse me. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you could interrupt like hundreds of baby fry from doing that kind of thing. But you can see here, I've missed a few spots. I didn't get a perfect wrap, but it's good enough. You can see the hook showing through there. And what you want to aim for is you want to aim for that nice, smooth, touching turns, and you want to have that hook moving up and down. So you're not tying in any material yet, you're just working on a thread base. That's the start, the foundation of every fly you're going to tie is this thread base. So I just want to keep even pressure. I want that hook to be following me around. You can see it moving. And I want my thread landing place to be right next to each other. So they're touching turns, just like that. And just practice that. And the nice thing about doing this is you don't have to waste any material, because as soon as you've done that, you can look at it, you can spin it around, you can be like, okay, so I didn't miss any spots there. You can see them, right, because your hook shank's going to show through. You can see I missed a few spots here, and this is much more even, so I did a better job that time. So once you've done that, just undo it. Do it again. You know, wind it back up. You don't have to waste your thread. And you're going to get bored of this. This isn't going to be like super invigorating and fun. But if you can do this, and you can fill your whole shank up, front to back, without having too many, again, you don't need to be perfect, but without having too many little gaps, and just keeping your tension even, just keeping an eye on that movement. It should be going around in a circle like that the whole time. You shouldn't have it go up, over, and then not going down. This is a really common thread wrap that a lot of people will do, is up. You can see it moving up, but not down. See that? That's a really common problem. And what will happen there is all your wraps are going to be tensioned on your side of the hook, not on this side, but on your side of the hook on the top. So when you're tying in materials, these bottom wraps are just slightly looser than the top wraps, and things are going to twist. And you're not going to get nice and even wraps. You can see how janky and falling apart that is. I know when you're starting, that kind of thing doesn't seem like super important, but your whole fly rests on top of those wraps. That's your foundation. It's like building a house. Everything else that you tie in and everything that you add to your fly is going to be reliant on that. So if you're adding like some yarn, and you want it to sit nice and on top like that, if I'm going and I'm wrapping it and I'm putting tension, I'm doing this on purpose, but putting tension up and then dropping it, up and 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 dropping it, you can see how my yarn wrapped around the hook. See how it's gone like that? So that kind of thing will drive you nuts when you're learning to tie, and you'll be like, why are my tails going this way and that way? Why are my wings going up and down? You know, this here, that line, is happening because your thread tension isn't even. And that's going to take you, it might take you weeks, it might take you months, it's going to take you a while. It's something that even people have been tying for years still spend a lot of effort to try and get right. So that's one of the reasons that you're breaking your thread, is that is not even. When you're wrapping too, you want your thread to be coming out on a bit of an angle, so you don't have to necessarily have it up and down like yay. You want to have it on a bit of an angle. This will add that tension, so you'll feel it through your bobbin a little better. If you're pulling like this, the only tension that you're having, if it's straight up and down, is from your spool. So depending on the style of bobbin you have, that could be okay. There are some bobbins, like the right bobbins and stuff, that'll have an actual tensioner on the bottom, That'll eliminate that being an issue. But generally speaking, you want to have your bobbin on an angle, and when the thread's coming out, you want it basically 90 degrees from where your wrapping point is going to be, so you can control that thread going on there. I know it doesn't sound glamorous, it doesn't sound fun, but yeah, that's like getting this down when you're first starting. It will save you breaking a lot of thread, will save you having cockeyed looking weird, tails and stuff that you're tying in. Getting that down will make a huge difference for you. Good, I'm glad. Yeah. Same go with trout, and I know whitefish are the same way. Yep, like yeah, you can save hundreds of fish if you throw a female back and she's able to spawn. Oh, thank you for pulling that out. I appreciate you adding that in there, Tyler. So the other thing that's happening is trying to find a bit of yarn here I can use to demonstrate for you. So you're using a twisted thread now, right? Instead of GSP, which is flat. So a GSP thread looks like this. It's basically like a ribbon. It's flat. Okay? If you're using uni, it's a round thread. It looks like this. It's basically a yarn. It's twisted. So as you're wrapping around your thread, or around your hook, here I'm just going to move my bobbin out of the way. But every time you do a wrap around your material here, one second. I need this out of the way. Yeah, this is going to be ugly, but we're just doing a demo, so who cares? But every time you're doing a wrap, and this is a really tiny piece of yarn, but this is what I got, so this is where we're going. I'm just going to try and pin it here. Okay, so pretend this is your tying thread, and we're macroed up and we're zoomed right in, okay? It looks just like this if you zoom right in. It'll even be fuzzy like that. Okay, so as we're wrapping, you're not, the part that's tied in isn't moving, and the part that's going here isn't. Every single time you make a wrap, you're twisting this cord up. I'm actually twisting it in the wrong direction, so it's actually unspooling, but you can see here, that's unspooling. And I got the 3 strands separated now. So if we go the other way, because that's the opposite of what I was trying to demonstrate. Just happens to be that's the direction that this is done on. So if we go the other, now it's cording up. Now it's getting tighter every single time I wrap it. This has a twist in it. You see how tight that is now, right? And if I keep going, that tension, you can see how they're just, it's almost like it's super tight now, right? Now what'll happen is you'll get about that far, like 5 or 6 or 7 wraps, and it'll cord up like this, and this makes it way less strong. It'll get to the point where that twist, you can see I can't go any farther. Thanks, Yoshi. But you can see how much this is corded up, right? So the other thing that'll break your thread every time is that you over cord this. It's just like taking a piece of rope, putting a stick through it or something, and just twisting. I can do this, and twisting and twisting and twisting. More twist, and twisting and twisting. At some point, with too much twist, this is just going to fracture. It's just going to go poof, and just pop, right? So what you want to do to avoid that is a counter wrap or counter twist. So if you're watching a lot of tires, I don't do it a lot on my streams unless I notice it being an issue. But every single time I wrap this, I'm adding twist to that line. Okay? I'm adding 1 twist every time I wrap this around. Now what a lot of tires will do, especially if they're production tying or they're tying really fast and they're going like this and they're whipping it in there, they've added like 20 something wraps on there. If I let go of my bobbin, there it goes. See, it's spinning now, right? It's spinning clockwise. So what you want to do, and it's trying to get that twist out of that thread. So a lot of times I don't do this during tying because I tie slower while I have my streams running, and while I'm sitting here talking, my thread is unwinding. So a lot of times I don't bother with this because it's doing it on its own. However, if you're a new tyer and you're sitting there and you're just whipping through stuff and that thread's getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and you don't unspool it by taking your time or slowing down, what you can do is just take your bobbin. I'm just going to zip this up so it's in frame a little bit, and just give it a spin. Just give it a little spin like that. Stop. Let it rotate 10-20 times. Whatever you put on, you're taking off that way. You're just spinning it in the rotation that your bobbin normally wants to rotate, which is normally clockwise. Depending on if you're left or right-handed tyer, it's going to be clockwise or counterclockwise. Okay, take that spin out. As soon as you take the spin out, what you'll notice, if you have twist on your thread, when you bring your thread up, it wants to lay one way or the other. So I've over twisted it now because it's laying back this way. See how it's folding over? So now if we take it, I think it might be quicker for me here just to cut this off and restart. Take the twist out that way. Alright, so now if we wrap this in, and I'm not going to take my twist out now, I'm just going to give it a good 20 or so wraps. Pretend I'm tying in like a wing or something, okay? So now it's twisted up. If I let go of my bobbin, it wants to spin that way. If I take a loop of thread up and go to wrap something in, my thread wants to coil the opposite direction. You see it's coiling this way. Okay? So that'll also make it harder for you. You can see how much it just really wants to whip that direction. If I spin my bobbin now, again 20 or so spins, doesn't take a whole lot. You'll see now it's going the other way. It's twisting that way. If you get it just right, which is kind of what you're aiming for, I normally go a little bit farther back. I'm spinning it the opposite direction now, just take a little bit of that twist out. If you get it just right, it'll be like this, and it'll sit just in the middle, not twisting left, not twisting right. See? And that's kind of where you want it to be when you're tying your material in. You want it to be right in the middle. If you have too much twist, your thread will just pop. Okay, I'm going to try that here. I'll just twist the bejesus out of this thing. Okay, I'm just going to apply some tension down. This is actually holding pretty good. Alright, so let's twist this up. I'm just going to twist it to no end here, and then we'll see how much easier it breaks. Now, the other thing too is I got a big thread base here. It'll snap if you're on bare hook like this. It'll snap way quicker. So I'm on the bare hook now, and we'll just pull down. There we go. So I broke it. So it broke in the middle of my bobbin. Okay, you can see it broke here. I still have the thread in my fingers. It's broken right in the middle of my bobbin. Yeah, no worries. So you can see it broke right in the middle of my bobbin tube. There's nothing in the bobbin tube touching the thread, right? There's nothing that's going to snap it in there. It's air. It's literally sitting in the middle of nothing. So why did it break there? It broke there because the two friction points are on either side of my bobbin, and all that twist is stacked up in there. And when I pull down, it's trying to untwist that cord, and it just snaps it. So it's the same as like if you're taking a newspaper and you roll it up and you're twisting and then you pull on it to break it. It's a lot easier to rip that newspaper if you've had it twisted up. So that's exactly what's happening. So hopefully that helps you there, Tyler. Keep at it. Pay attention to your twists. I got a whole bunch of nasty thread on here. Pay attention to your twists. Pay attention to your thread tension. Wrap it on your fingers so you can feel what's going on. Get a big old hook like this one and just practice throwing thread on it. Okay, if you can get to the point where you can go from one end to the other and it's fairly even and you haven't broken your thread, undo it, do it again. You get from one end to the other and it's nice and clean and you haven't broken your thread, you got it. And then just commit that to memory, commit to the feel of the tension to memory. The more you do it, the more you'll get better at it. It's not going to come quick, it's not going to come easy. It's going to take some practice. And don't beat yourself up over it. We all started in that spot where we're breaking our thread. Now, the reason I asked you to get the uni thread instead of the other thread, the GSP, is you can't practice this. You really can't practice this properly with uni thread because it is so much stronger. Yeah, thanks, Yoshi. Hopefully that helps everyone. Because yeah, this is not something that a lot of tires talk about because it's boring, right? It's just thread tension. Ooh, shiny, right? Nobody really cares. Well, you care as soon as you have a problem that you can't fix because your brain doesn't understand why it's not working. But that's generally why it's not working. And that affects all sorts of things, from tying in your material to having a smooth body to, God, just all sorts of stuff. So the more you can get that down, and I'm definitely by no means perfect at it. And I get lazy like everyone else when I'm tying in a thread body and I don't do it perfectly. Because I know I'd get it to the point where it's not just good, it's good enough. But yeah, when you're learning, you want to shoot for that perfect and be happy with good. And be super happy with good enough. If you can get it to good enough, you've done your thing. And get the big old box cutter out here and clean this off. But there, Tyler, I hope that works for you. I hope you can get some more walleye. I hope some of your first flies are chartreuse just for kicks and giggles. But yeah, if you do tie up some flies for us, I don't care what they look like, man. Take a picture of it, throw it on my community page. I want to see what you tied, okay? There's no bad first fly. I don't have any of my first flies, but I have some of my early flies within the first few years of my tying. And I've showed them on here before. I'm not going to pull them out right now. But we all start with that bare hook. Every one of us started with a bare hook and some thread. So just keep at it, man. You'll get there. And you will break thread. I break thread all the time. But you just got the one fly done. Oh. No worries, Yoshi. Like I said, it's not something that a lot of tires go into because, one, maybe a lot of them don't know. And two, it's not a, fun, shiny fact, right? Nobody wants to hear that they're messing up their fly and that their thread's breaking because, they're twisting it every single time they take that thread turn. I should probably do a video on that with some better material so I can, properly explain what's going on. Yeah, we all break our thread. Every one of us. You look at some of the best tires on YouTube here, and you watch them for long enough, and they're going to break their thread. Maybe several times on the same fly. But either way, I work early today, so I got to cut the stream a little short here. I was going to try and get another fly going, but I'm happy I was able to hopefully help out Tyler and maybe a few more of you guys with that information, so that makes it worthwhile to me, even if we only got one fly in today. But yeah, that gives me some idea for a nice long form. Thread is one of those things that hits a rabbit hole that you can jump right down. Unfortunately, there's no consistency between one company and another, or even between the same companies. Like I got some older Danvilles, which is good stuff. Don't get me wrong. That's what my father-in-law tied on. And I got some older Danville and some newer Danville, and even in between just the company, like they're very different between the old stuff and the new. And same with uni and everything else. Manufacturers change and the process changes, and unfortunately, none of them follow a consistent measuring to like the denier system, and like the aught system, like they all kind of measure it just slightly differently. So if you buy 5 spools of 6/0 thread from different companies, they're all going to be different. They're not going to be 6/0. They're going to be somewhere in the middle. So that is a frustration that's just never going to change with this hobby. But yeah, hopefully that helps out you guys a little bit with your thread tension. It's not something that you need to religiously follow, but it is something to keep in the back of your head. So if you're in that frustrated position where your thread just keeps breaking and you just want to get this fly done and you're upset about it, and you know it's not becoming fun anymore, that's where you need to stop. Like, this is supposed to be fun, right? We're doing this to enjoy ourselves. So like, if it's taking the fun out of it, just take a step back. Yeah, you too. I'm glad I could help you out, mate. Yeah, same with hooks. Exactly. Hooks are another ball of wax. Yep. Hook sizes and shapes and everything are they're just all over the place. Yeah. So just find something that works for what you're tying. Go with it and have fun. Okay. Good morning, all. See ya. Hopefully, y'all have a good weekend. We'll see you tomorrow. Appreciate it.